Back for another edition of Long Ball. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Blue Jays writer and columnist Rob Longley. Rob, just a few games left in the regular season for the Toronto Blue Jays as they get set for the postseason. What are you going to be watching for in these final few games?
Yeah, Rob, it's all about the end of the week rather than the start of the week as we talk here today in Baltimore, where it's rainy and the Jays are still hoping to get 3 games in. They still might have to get 3 games in because not all has been decided in the American League wildcard race. But what are they looking for in the next 3 days before the postseason starts? I mean, I think the obvious things would be to lock down the top wildcard seed, which could happen very soon. But also to stay healthy, right? To stay healthy and to stay in a bit of a rhythm. This team has sort of survived a whole bunch of injuries here and there. Never really had any debilitating ones through the course of the season, and you certainly don't want anything like that to crop up at this point. That's why there was concern on Sunday when Kevin Gausman had a minor issue with his finger. So they'll be watching that as the playoffs approach. But yeah, the main thing is to stay healthy and to stay into a bit of a rhythm because you could make the case that over the final week of the season, this offense has been more prolific than it's been at any point in the season. You know, we're seeing Teoscar Hernandez for sure at his best. We're seeing Whit Merrifield really starting to perform now that he's getting regular playing time and almost making people forget about All-Star Santiago Espinal, who's on the injured list. And, you know, Whit Merrifield is showing his All-Star form because he has been an All-Star twice in his career and is really benefiting from that playing time. So, you know, I think manager John Schneider, what he will try to do is obviously keep guys healthy, but also keep guys in rhythm. So he might not play George Springer and Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero Jr. 9 innings a night, but I'm thinking he's going to get a good 5 or 6 into them in each of the last 3 games so that they can carry some of that offensive momentum into the postseason.
Yeah, that is very true. You want these guys firing on all cylinders as they head into the postseason. So you mentioned John Schneider, and obviously the record has been fantastic since he's taken over for Charlie Montoyo. What have you made of his short tenure as the interim manager of the Toronto Blue Jays?
Obviously, there's not a whole lot to criticize of it and a lot to be positive of. Certainly, stylistically, he's quite different than his predecessor, Charlie Montoyo. He's definitely more vocal. He's definitely more of a clubhouse presence than Charlie Montoyo was. And I think his sense was that some of these players wanted to be led, and he's taken that role upon himself. He's boisterous. He's aggressive. We've seen some of the moves that he's done in game. Certainly more aggressive than Montoyo was in terms of things like bunting and hit and run and that kind of stuff where you can manufacture offense. And I think the players have responded to him. You know, he's been a real leader that way, and there was a real comfort level for a lot of them. And I think we've talked about this already in the past, Rob, about, you know, I mean, he started managing some of these kids when they were teenagers, and I'm talking about Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Danny Jansen, guys like that. So there's a real comfort level and a real trust, and that has spread out through the newcomers on the team, the guys, the veterans like George Springer and Kevin Gausman. Right now, that clubhouse is a pretty tight spot. We certainly saw evidence of it when they celebrated clinching a playoff spot there last week. I think the celebration was pretty boisterous, and I think John Schneider was right in the middle of it. And I think that's sort of, I mean, that doesn't work for every group or for every team because baseball's not football. I mean, it's not necessarily a rah-rah sport, but the demeanor that Schneider has brought has been very well received, and it's certainly in a good place right now at a very important time in the year.
So as we come to the end of the season here, there's obviously going to be a lot of talk about awards and the Blue Jays players. Some of them might be up for some of the big awards come the offseason. But when you look at the team this year, a lot of great performances, Rob, but who stands out to you the most? Who is the MVP, in your opinion, for the Blue Jays in 2022?
Yeah, to me, there's no question, Rob. It's the big man. It's Alek Manoah. You know, rarely is the pitcher the MVP of the team, but I think that he is, you know, for a young guy who's in his first full year in the major leagues, and to have been as dominant as he has been at times, to get stronger as the season goes along, to be the ultimate competitor. I think he picks his teammates up, and I think that, you know, he is a fringe Cy Young contender. He'll get some votes there. He's not going to win it, but I think players have fed off of him, and I think that he has emerged as a real leader for a young guy, both in the way he carries himself, but especially in the way that he performs. And a lot of people like to talk about where this team would be without Ross Stripling, and Ross Stripling has been a great story, but he hasn't been the MVP. Alek Manoah is a beast almost every time he gets out there. You can set your watch to it. It's going to be 6 to 7 innings. It's going to be maximum 3 to 4 runs. He's going to win ball games. And when things go awry, he's got this ability to sort of knuckle down and get back at it. And I think that he is the standout in that department. I think you could give a nod to Chapman at third base. I mean, he's obviously brought the level of that infield play up. I mean, I think he's made Bo Bichette a better shortstop. And Matt Chapman, we'd like to see him be a bit more consistent at the plate. He just set a record the other day for the most strikeouts in the season by a Blue Jay. So he's not the most complete player, but they didn't sign him up to be a guy that was going to be Mr. Consistency at the plate. They signed him to be a reliable third baseman and to improve that infield play overall, and he's done just that. Yeah, but for my money, I think you got to look at the big guy. You got to look at Alek Manoah. He's been the MVP of the 2022 Blue Jays to this point.
Yeah, definitely a fantastic choice. Should be a very interesting end to the season. We'll be back with another long ball to preview the wild card round later in the week. As always, you can find Rob's work at the Toronto Sun and on Twitter at Longley Sun Sport.